Good evening. It's Thursday, April 9th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and we are broadcasting remotely tonight. San Diego County leaders are acknowledging there will be ups and downs during this coronavirus pandemic, but are urging everyone to stay focused on flattening the curve. 4 more people have died, and there are 98 newly confirmed local cases. In Sacramento, Governor Newsom's focus was squarely on the state's caregivers. KPBS reporter John Carroll has the latest.
A day after banning gatherings of any type except for families, the county today expanded its regulations on who must wear facial coverings in public.
That includes banks and public transportation employees, which include our traditional public transit entities like MTS and NCTD, along with our transportation network companies, which include rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft, taxis, and any other entity that might provide transportation to the public.
Supervisor Greg Cox highlighted a big distribution of food and paper products for low-income folks. It'll be held tomorrow beginning at 9 at Southwestern College. 1,000 vehicles will get contactless delivery, and it's first come, first served. Governor Newsom says many caregivers are seeing their and their families' lives torn apart, commuting long distances, working long hours, sometimes sleeping in their cars. And if they do return home after their shift, in a near constant state of worry about infecting their families. Now, Newsom says it's time to take care of the caregivers.
By providing them vouchers and stipends, and in many cases for low-wage workers, 100% reimbursable costs at hotels all up and down the state of California, so that they're allowed to stay closer to their patients and provide them the opportunity not to worry about being out of pocket or worry about exposing their families or, God forbid, worried about another night sleeping in their cars.
The state has set up a website, caltravelstore.com, that has a list of 150 hotels now participating, with more coming online every day. And for volunteer healthcare workers, help with transportation.
And United Airlines called and said, if you have folks that are traveling into the state that want to be part of that health corps, we want to take care of their travel costs. 100% round-trip tickets, no matter where they are at any point of the globe.
The governor says shortly after the United call, Southwest, Alaska, and Delta Airlines all stepped up with the same offer.
The governor also announced a first-time decrease of nearly 2% in the number of people in intensive care. It now stands at about 1,132 statewide. A glimmer of hope that everything Californians have been doing to flatten the curve for weeks now might be working. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The deadliest days in the COVID battle are projected to come this weekend as new hotspots emerge across the U.S. This news comes as another 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits for the first time. More now from reporter Karen Kafa.
As New York State sees some signs of relief,
the hospitalization rate does suggest that it's coming down, and we are flattening the curve.
The state's coronavirus death toll was up again Wednesday, and emerging hotspots are escalating preparations like Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
We think that we're in a later wave of rising infections and hospitalizations, and that's what we're planning for.
The White House Coronavirus Task Force also including Philadelphia in that group. City officials are more optimistic.
The numbers still continue to rise, but really just in the past 2 or 3 days is the first time I'm starting to feel a little more optimistic that the steps we're doing to make a difference.
Illinois saw cases rise Wednesday. In Chicago, a refrigerated warehouse has been set up to ease potential morgue overcrowding. The Labor Department, meanwhile, said another 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. While President Trump is eager to get workers and the economy going again as early as May, medical experts warn against timelines.
I'm concerned that we're setting dates and not listening to the virus. The virus is going to tell us when it's safe to open up again.
Modeling from the University of Washington suggests a peak in the U.S. daily death toll this Sunday. In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
New technology to test for COVID-19 in as little as 5 minutes is now being used in San Diego. Scripps Health says it's using the new ID Now device made by Abbott Labs. The machine received emergency FDA approval just a couple of weeks ago. They can produce a positive test for COVID-19 in just 5 minutes. Negative tests take about 15 minutes.
And that enables the healthcare provider to see a patient, diagnose a patient, and take the necessary interventions in a very short amount of time, and can help prevent further transmissions to other people.
And Scripps says it has the devices at all 5 of its hospitals in San Diego County. The pandemic is beginning to take hold south of the border. The largest hospital in Baja California, Tijuana's General Hospital, is straining under the pressure. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler and video journalist Matt Bowler show us more.
Dozens of patients at Tijuana General Hospital are being given the same grim diagnosis: atypical pneumonia. That's because doctors at the hospital tell KPBS that there aren't enough tests to confirm that Tijuana is now also seeing an outbreak of COVID-19. Video obtained exclusively by KPBS shows conditions inside a Tijuana public hospital. In this case, a worker is spraying disinfectant as others transport a patient. Doctors there say they haven't been given enough safety equipment, so they've been buying their own equipment at inflated prices. The Baja government has put out its own figures on the number of positive cases in Tijuana, which as of Thursday stood at 155.
But an open letter published by one doctor at a medical clinic in Tijuana said the situation is far more serious. And given the scarcity of ventilators in the city, the doctor says its healthcare system could collapse if over 150 COVID-19 patients required intensive care.
Local officials say Baja's healthcare system will still be able to safely treat coronavirus patients, as long as people in the city continue to practice social distancing. Recently, Mexico's federal government has sought to minimize the impact of coronavirus on the country. Alejandro Ruiz Uribe, Tijuana's federal delegate who coordinates federal government aid to Tijuana, released a video this week clarifying comments he made saying that the virus would make Mexican families that survived the pandemic stronger. He said he would never joke about the lives of families. For the doctors and medical professionals facing down a global pandemic in public hospitals that are already overrun on a good night, coronavirus in Tijuana is no laughing matter. Their hospitalization rates are still rising. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
There are now 10 detainees who are positive for COVID-19 at the Otay Mesa Detention Center. It houses people in immigration and U.S. Marshals custody. 6 employees there have now also tested positive. Immigrant advocates, health experts, and elected representatives are calling on the federal government to release as many detainees as possible from Otay Mesa. They say it's hard for detainees to follow simple health guidelines like social distancing and hand washing.
All of those things are enormously difficult to do for people in detention. In many of the detention facilities in which we are holding people, it is functionally impossible to achieve those basic minimum standards.
Over the weekend, several detainees launched a hunger strike to protest their conditions during the pandemic. A sailor from the USS Theodore Roosevelt who tested positive for COVID-19 is now in the ICU. The Navy says the sailor was found unconscious and admitted to the U.S. Navy hospital in Guam. Nearly all of the San Diego-based carrier's crew have been tested for the virus. 416 sailors have tested positive, and there are over 1,000 pending results. A crew member aboard the USNS Mercy hospital ship has tested positive for the virus. That person is isolated aboard the ship and will soon transfer off to self-monitor for severe symptoms. The Mercy was deployed from San Diego to Los Angeles to relieve some pressure on the local hospital system. The Navy says the sick crew member will not affect the Mercy's ability to receive patients. In the face of a viral pandemic that attacks the respiratory system, the word ventilator has become used more today than ever before. And in response to the need, Governor Gavin Newsom loaned 500 ventilators to the national stockpile to be sent to other states dealing with a crushing number of severe COVID cases. Joanne Farian is a lecturer at the Columbia School of Journalism. In a recent article for Kaiser Health News, Farian cites that in the U.S., there is a cache of more than 8,200 ventilators in nursing homes where many people are on life support, but not all the ventilators are being used. While the country strives to locate spare vents, she says this supply has not drawn the same attention.
The fact that there's a shortage of ventilators was not really a surprise to anyone who knows anything about these issues. For the last 10, 15 years, the CDC, the state of New York, the state of California have looked at these issues of shortages in the event of a pandemic like this. So there have been groups of people, bioethicists, doctors, scientists, whomever, coming together, public health experts saying, okay, we know that in a pandemic, we won't have enough ventilators. Is it okay if we take one from someone who doesn't look like they're going to make it to give it to someone who will? What the story that I wrote about looks at this other population that, again, most people don't know about, who basically are kept alive with ventilators. This is the rest of their life for many of them, not all of them, but for many of them.
The highest number of machines, 2,300, is in California, and the second highest number is in the state of New York. More and more people and businesses are coming together to find ways to thank our first responders during this pandemic. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman shows us a delicious way that was done today.
It's 30 minutes before opening at Woodstock's Pizza in Pacific Beach. And this dough is getting ready for an extra special pizza delivery. Woodstock's is partnering with the Salvation Army, raising money to feed people in need during the outbreak.
We're strong on that sense of community. In San Diego, we've been here for 35 years.
The campaign is being called the Double Your Donation campaign. For every dollar you donate, Woodstock's will double it.
We want to be part of the solution, and for us, that means that we want to match what our own guests or people donating.
Today, Woodstock's is cooking up pizzas and making salads for emergency room nurses and doctors. Once the pizzas are cooked, they're cut and ready to be dropped off for ER staff at UC San Diego's La Jolla Hospital.
It's awesome. It's amazing. It makes it helps us to feel loved and supported, which in turn allows us to continue to provide the necessary support that patients need.
The fundraiser not only feeds healthcare workers on the front lines of the coronavirus outbreak, it also helps keep Woodstock's from laying off staff.
This gives our employees the opportunity to make more pizza, therefore be employed, feel good about what they're doing because it's helping the community. So it is definitely a win-win-win.
Woodstock's is based in San Diego, but has locations across California. The company saw a 50% reduction in business when coronavirus restrictions first went into place. They have since taken advantage of low-interest government loans.
We're grateful that those loan programs have been put in place, and that will sustain us through the next month.
And the donated pizza is not just for healthcare workers.
It's not just hospital workers. It actually is for the lower income families within the Salvation Army group.
If you're interested in donating, search for Woodstock's Pizza on GoFundMe. Already some $14,000 has been raised, which translates to more than 5,000 meals. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Schools may be closed, but teachers are still teaching and learning new ways to do it. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong takes a look at the new tasks when it comes to distance learning.
This one says, one cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well, by Virginia Woolf. And then it says, what is your favorite meal? Who makes it and who eats it with you?
Yvonne Dawson is a third grade teacher at Arroyo Vista Charter School in the Chula Vista Elementary School District. She's using these conversation starters when her class meets on Zoom.
Hopefully everyone's not talking over each other at the same time, but it's something that students are used to, and I think it'll bring a sense of normalcy to the situation.
The pandemic is wreaking havoc on the educational system in the here and now and in ways that will not become clear for months. Yet, Dawson and other San Diego County teachers are seeing a silver lining in the transition to distance learning.
You might have distractions, but you're in control of that.
Gino Scalo is an English and history teacher in the San Diego Union High School District.
We're skipping a lot of spring distractions, like standardized testing and graduation practice and, the trip to Knott's Berry Farm. And the last part of the school year is when there's all these kind of non-academic things. And teachers get very annoyed about the interruptions in the routine. And this year, we're not going to have any of those interruptions.
Teachers also see this as an opportunity to learn new technology that they can take back to the classrooms when schools reopen.
They're getting to learn some cool stuff at home. And I think we really need to cheer on what families can teach, what communities can teach.
Mari Venturino is a science teacher at Mar Vista Academy. She's also studying for her doctorate in educational technology and has been helping teachers learn new platforms.
Right now, especially, the kids are going to be super forgiving. When something doesn't work, they're going to say, hey, I can help you fix it, or, oh, it's okay, keep trying.
But the most bittersweet lesson in all this, Venturino said, has been realizing the importance of personal relationships.
To all the teachers out there, just keep doing, we're doing it because we love our kids. So just keep doing what you love, and those technology skills, they'll come. And there's tons of resources out there too.
Joe Hong, KPBS News.
And tomorrow we'll take a look at the challenges teachers are facing in adapting to the new learning environment. We are following all the latest coronavirus developments for you at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage, and then you'll be taken to another page with all of our recent reports. You can find that right now at kpbs.org. It's been a week of wet weather, and it looks like we're not quite in the clear just yet. Jeff Cornish has your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish with your forecast here on KPBS, and we have seen some beneficial precipitation return to the area after that really dry February. We've been making up for lost time in March and here into early April as well. Soaking rain continues for many of us through the overnight hours, another inch or more for many before this comes to a conclusion. Snow levels are up around 5,500 feet, so above that elevation you will see the continuation of snow, and the snow will persist the longest into the mountains of San Bernardino and Riverside counties, ending a little earlier into the mountains of San Diego County. But you can see it's been a very wet time with this persistent rain, especially into the LA basin, but it's going to rotate on through the San Diego area as well, and for good reason. Flash flood watches do continue across the entire metro area and all the way east into Mount Laguna, Borrego Springs as well. Several inches of snow persisting in many areas, with winter storm warnings still on the map into many of the mountains, at least in far southern California. So here's the story this evening and tonight. Our upper level low pressure system is going to still be in the neighborhood, and you can see as it drifts south, it's going to continue to focus that extra moisture feed into Southern California. Eventually, though, it pushes just far enough south that will be under the heart of it, and the greatest fetch of moisture coming in from the Pacific will move into the Baja California Peninsula, and then this fades and moves into the interior and will turn drier into the weekend. But tonight we're still wet out there with periods of soaking rain, mid-50s for many of us near the coast, and Futurecast shows this rain coming on shore here, just steadily raining for many of us for a good chunk of the night with some snow into the mountains. So as we look at the details here Friday, wet weather still with us, some snow and snow showers in the mountains. Tomorrow's forecast 62 into El Cajon, and we're dealing with some very warm weather returning to the deserts to the east into Saturday. So a quick look at the forecast here at the coast, turning brighter eventually into the early part of next week after Easter. Inland forecast, maybe a little drizzle into Sunday morning. Elsewhere, we're dealing with the mountain forecast turning quieter after the snow pulls away, and the deserts warming back up with some sunshine next week. I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
An experimental COVID-19 vaccine developed here in San Diego is now in the human testing phase. Inovio Pharmaceuticals is testing 2 doses of its vaccine in 40 healthy volunteers at a research lab in Kansas City, Missouri, and the University of Pennsylvania. Researchers put a section of the virus's genetic code inside a piece of synthetic DNA, which is injected to produce harmless copies. The immune system makes antibodies, so it's ready if the real virus should ever come along.
I like to think of DNA medicines a little bit like the FBI wanted posters. So what we're doing is introducing a map or a picture to the body of the virus, in this case, as the enemy.
And it will likely be a year to 18 months before a vaccine is ready to be rolled out to the general population. Many families are struggling financially because of the coronavirus pandemic, but military families face some unique challenges. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says the virus has placed extra burdens on younger military families who were already struggling to make ends meet.
So we're putting our information on all these sleeves of diapers, so when they get them, they know who they came from and if we can help.
Laura White's group STEP counsels members of the military in financial trouble. In recent weeks, a lot of their effort has gone into providing care packages with basic necessities to families caught off guard by the coronavirus.
What we're seeing is definitely a little bit of panic, as we all are kind of feeling these days, but another level with our military families, because they have some stricter stay-at-home rules. You know, when your spouse is deployed and you're still a parent, we don't want that parent here to get sick.
So they're delivering to single parents who are often living far from their own extended families.
I'd like to provide an update on DoD's coronavirus efforts.
In late March, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper imposed a 60-day stop movement order throughout the world. At least 90,000 service members were caught up in the restriction. People were frozen in place. Kathleen Martinez's husband is a Marine officer at Camp Pendleton. He was supposed to deploy overseas for the first time. Now that's on hold.
We were planning to have me go live back in the Midwest while he's deployed to be near family, because it is the first deployment. I'm a little nervous about it. We don't have any family or support system out here, so we thought that would be a smart idea.
In San Diego, where vacancy rates remain low, their lease will run out at the end of the month. They can continue to lease month to month, but their landlord has already told her it will be significantly more expensive.
Feel stuck, uncertain. Everything is up in the air. I'm a planner, and I can't plan right now, so that's a little nerve-wracking, just not knowing what's next.
The Secretary's order came down so quickly, some families were stuck mid-move. Some arrived in San Diego before their furniture. Other sailors and Marines had set up their new places and were ready to move when the order came down. Blue Star Families, a military support group, is asking families about the disruption caused by COVID-19 in the military's response. Jessica Strong is the senior researcher for the survey.
Because this stop movement order, people are not able to move from one place to another. If you were caught in the middle of that right now, you may be paying 2 mortgage or 2 rent payments over the next few days or months, especially since we just started a new month. 21% of our respondents in our week 1 said that they will be paying 2 rents or mortgages in the next 60 days. And after they've just lost a position or lost half their income, that's not easy to do.
By the second week of the survey, 37% of respondents say their spouse had lost their civilian job. About a third said they plan to dip into savings.
There's a lot of financial repercussions. People are without housing or unable to make rent or unable to afford food even.
Laura White with the group that helps military families says denial plays a big role in compounding financial problems. She's seen people stack unopened bills when they know they can't pay.
We want you to open those bills. We want you to take a deep breath and realize that a big part of the world has just come to a halt. So you're not in any different situation than a lot of other people. Get them in order and start making phone calls to each one of those people and talk about your situation. You're going to be able to put something on hold. You're going to be able to come up with some payment plans.
If a creditor won't work with you, the next step is to contact state or federal consumer protection offices. New laws have put temporary holds on some evictions. People in the military should also reach out to their command. Above all else, White says, try to stay calm. There are solutions. For KPBS News, I'm Steve Walsh.
It's Holy Week for Christians around the world. Pope Francis delivered his Last Supper Mass to a nearly empty basilica today. Lockdowns have prevented almost all travel and gatherings in Italy. The Pope has spent past Holy Thursdays washing the feet of prisoners, but wasn't able to this year because of social distancing restrictions. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at how local churches are coming together on Easter while staying apart. And with theaters closed, film festivals are scrambling to come up with alternative ways of screening movies and creating a community space. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando looks to what the San Diego Italian Film Festival is doing now.
The San Diego Italian Film Festival has made discussion a defining component of its mission. Even before the need for self-isolation, it was offering online content to foster conversations about Italian cinema. Now the festival wants to create structure for its new online community. So it's offering a pick of the week each Monday for people to stream, then a short film from its Ristretto program on Wednesday, and a discussion on Sunday. Artistic director Antonio Iannotto was excited about gathering people online to discuss film. Unfortunately, the festival's first online group meeting this past Sunday was disrupted by uninvited attendees breaking into the Zoom meeting. But Iannotto was undaunted.
Art was never and is never so essential in moments like the one that unfortunately we're living right now. But again, it's an experience that you need to share with other people. That is also essential.
His second and more secure online Zoom conversation proved successful and lively.
Everybody was really engaged, everybody pitched in, everybody had fun, and I really do hope that this is the first attempt for a long series of these conversations.
The next pick of the week will be The Italian Character, which the festival is asking people to stream online and then RSVP for a conversation on Sunday. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
An update now on our top story. Today, San Diego County expanded its regulations on who is required to wear facial coverings to slow the spread of the coronavirus. 4 more people have died, and there are 98 newly confirmed local cases. County leaders are acknowledging there will be ups and downs during this pandemic, but are urging everyone to stay focused on flattening the curve. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Stay safe and good night.